Here is question 3C. So the question asking us about comparing the 2016 and the 2006 and 2008 samples that were done, the surveys, and they're asking, can we make a claim that it was lower in 2008? So they're asking us to find a confidence interval and interpret that. So let's have a look and find the information we need. And there's a paragraph here that talked about the study from the percentage decreased from 40 to 34%, comparing the 2008 to 2006. And down the bottom they talk about our survey, our margins of error. So those are the two pieces of information we need. So we've got those there now. We need to do a confidence interval. And in order to do a confidence interval, we need to know what situation we're dealing with. So we're comparing a survey in 2006 with a survey in 2008. They will be of two different sample sizes, two different surveys, completely different people, different year, different everything. So we know we've got two samples and that we are doing a comparison between two samples. So that means we need to find the average margin of error. So we've got our two margins of error of 3.8% and 4.5%. So to find the average means add them up, divide by 2. So that's what we're going to do. 3.8 plus 4.5, and we're going to divide that by 2, and that gives us the average margin of error of 4.15. Now we need to multiply this by 1.5. So if you think of comparing one survey versus two surveys, the difference is 1.5. So this is a correction factor, which you'll learn more about at university if you need to know more. So our average margin of error multiplied by 1.5 is going to be 6.225. So that's the margin of error that we want to use to make this confidence interval. The next thing we need is we need to know what the formula is. So the formula for confidence interval is that we want to find the percentage difference plus or minus that margin of error. So we've got to work out that percentage difference. So we've got two statistics. We've got 40% and 34%. We need the difference. Difference means subtract. So we're going to subtract those two, plus or minus that margin of error, which we found of 6.225. So 40% minus 34% gives us 6%, and then plus or minus 6.2% gives us a confidence interval of negative 0.2% to 12.2%. Okay, so there's our confidence interval. That was the first part, was to construct a confidence interval. Now we need to interpret this. So I'm just going to take that confidence interval there and think, well, what does that mean? So that was a confidence interval for the difference between 2008 and 2006. So the 34% represented 2008. The 2006 proportion was 40%. So we can say, right, here's our confidence interval, and it can go from negative 0.2 up to 12.2%. So that means I'm pretty sure the percentage of Kiwis, of people who use the mobility park without displaying a current permit in 2008 could be between 0.2% lower and 12.2% higher. Okay, so that's my first step, is to interpret that this is the difference, that it could be a little bit lower, could be higher, and that the 2008 value was that was the difference. Then we're going to look to see where 0 is, and you can see there I've just drawn a little line there and put 0 in that confidence interval. So the reason I've done this is we now need to decide, do we have enough evidence to say that there is actually a difference? And so if we remember from our inference earlier this year, if 0 is inside the confidence interval, it means that they could be the same. So that means my confidence interval with the two samples, 2006 and 2008, could have the same percentage, because 0, if I do one difference minus another, 20% take away 20%, I get a difference of 0. That would mean that they are the same. So that means I do not have enough evidence to say that the percentage was lower in 2008 compared to 2006. So yes, there is, that looks like there might be a difference. It's 40% compared to 34%. But given the margin of error, we can't say that that difference is big enough. We do not have enough evidence to say that that is a real difference. So if you are able to correctly find that average margin of error times 1.5 and get to 6.225%, then that would have given you an achieved. If you found the confidence interval, so negative 0.2 to 12.2, or if you'd had it the other way around, negative 12.2% up to positive 0.2%, either of those would have been fine. That would be your merit. And then if you needed to interpret the confidence interval and talk about whether that claim can be supported or not. So we needed both of those pieces for an excellence.